I'm yours truly, and this is Hard to Be Home. Hard to Be Home was made probably late November, early December last year. I was drinking incredibly heavily. I couldn't sleep. Again, it was right along the same timeline as Nightmare, maybe like a month after. Tiko had just whipped up a couple beats and knew I was kind of having a hard time putting anything to paper and getting anything on wax as far as like ideas. I just had so much going on and no clear direction for where to put it. So Hard to Be Home really happened by accident in the sense that I didn't have an intention to make any song like that. I was just sent the beat and it triggered everything to just pour out of me. The artwork, that's a funny one. So I ran into this artist named Myra probably about a year ago or so, and she kind of does all of this like really kind of crazy abstract medium stuff, which I was really moved by, and I didn't want to have people coming into this album with any preconceived notion of where I was trying to direct them. I really wanted to make the music as open-ended and approachable as humanly possible, and that meant leaving the visuals as open to your own interpretation as possible, and Myra found a great way around that. I just sent her all of the tracks. She played through them and just made whatever came to her head first thing. And if you're ever looking for a dope artist, if you're looking to commission some work, kind of like what we have on the album and all of the album covers that are coming out, you can find her on myrasemptyhead.com. She does a whole bunch of great work. I'm sure she'd love to make some for you too. The visualizer. That was Chris. Man, I love Chris. He was just sitting around after COVID, or during COVID. We had a whole bunch of free time, and he was doing nothing. His school was on hold, so he booted up Resolve, I think is what he uses, and he did that whole visualizer without pretty much any input from me. He ran straight through it and just put his own twist on everything he was hearing and made his own storyline out of it, which I really loved, and to this day I'm a huge fan of. So shout out Chris for that one. Love you, bro. Hard to Be Home is, like I said, I was going through a lot of really tough places and emotions at the time. I didn't really have much of a way to put it out there. Hard to Be Home was really the compass for how TMI ended up being made. It kind of went from being a story where I was kind of explaining everything to being more of a confessional, taking the approach of putting it all out there and not being soft on myself, kind of just being very blatant and upfront about what I was going through or whatever was going on as far as how I saw it, and just hoping that anyone else could place their story to it and maybe find some sort of relatable aspect that could help them get through theirs. That's really crazy to me. Like, this song is super significant because that broke down this barrier to where I wasn't afraid to speak on my shortcomings anymore. It was kind of like the floodgates opened up in a way because I had no more fears. After I'd made that song, I faced everything that I was afraid of kind of doing with myself in a public spotlight. I'd always kind of made more of a personal story song, and I'd always tried to share my experience with y'all, but I'd poke around it, whether it was metaphorically or I'd allude to something or kind of just tuck it away, and if you dug deep enough you would know what I meant. But this was like really the turning point as far as like how my album took place and how I've changed as an artist.
What's up, guys? I'm Tiko Raspy. This is how we made the beat for Hard to Be Home. This beat started just with the vocal sample. One of those things that just as soon as I heard it spoke to me. After the vocal sample, I just hopped in, and I think the first thing I added was just this little twinkly arpeggiator. Twinkly as shit, you know, pretty. Works with the vibe. I think it was here. I found that vocal sample a few days before. We had a studio night on a Friday. Woke up Saturday and we were kicking it, whatever. And I was right about here, I think, when When Trill came in, he was just about to leave. He was like, yeah, this is it. You know, do something with this. Right then, I named this one for Trill. And just went to town, you know. At that point, I was like, let's just make this a moment, you know. Like, let's make this as grand as we can, you know. So, after that, I added this organ. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Another organ on top of that. At the time, I was really just starting to get my hands on some music theory down. Before that, it was kind of just free reign. Just add whatever sounds nice, you know? And so here I was really trying to work with getting my actual notes down and the scales down and stuff like that, right? After that, I just added this tiny little horn in here. I was pretty happy with the top end, so of course it was time for that fuck you bass. It was time for the lead, you know? Something to really like give it that climax at the end, you know, that epic finale of it. And that's when I added this synth right at the end. At that point, I was pretty much happy with everything. Just did some basic stuff like a couple chorus effects, some reverb, delay, all that good stuff. Then it was the drums. Started with my snare and just some kind of perks, kind of give it some texture with a hi-hat, and that kind of came out like and just some kicks. Gotta add those triplet hats, you know, to really get the pace going, you know, because the drums we found were a little bit slow. Like they worked for certain parts, but then there were parts where obviously I needed it to reach that next height, so I just added some. And that was pretty much the entire beat. Put it all together. Usually a lot of my beats come together pretty quickly, heat of the moment type of thing, right? But with this one, it took me a couple weeks of just tweaking, adding, and then by the time I was ready to send it, I was like, this is gonna be something.
People don't sing, cause of a storm. My house of glass, it's hard to be home. It's hard to be home when I'm all alone. It's hard to be home, it's hard to be home. Positive talk, I cover my ears. Closing my eyes, the red appears. Exposing my fears, the red appears. The red appears, the red. Here with us in, cause of a storm. My house of glass, it's hard to be home. It's hard to be home when I'm all alone. It's hard to be home, it's hard to be home. Positive talk, I cover my ears. Closing my eyes, the red appears. The red appears. Exposing my fears, exposing my fears, exposing my. Stand in the mirror, cup in my hand. I'm having a brawl with a memory. Fear in my eyes, right where I stand. I know that I'm not what I'm meant to be. Stripping myself down to my bones, washing my sins with a Hennessy. Jesus, he wept, he said that he's sorry. Addiction will cost me a legacy. Told him I'm working on posthumous projects. He wouldn't believe what he said to me. Tender as roses addressed in my casket. A note that read, you are your enemy. Take it as true, cause what does it do if I act like this isn't the enemy? Rarely be sober around all my peers, although I do often pretend to be. Here with no sin, cause of a storm. My house of glass, it's hard to be home. It's hard to be home when I'm all alone. It's hard to be home, it's hard to be home. Positive talk, I cover my ears. Closing my eyes, the red appears. Exposing my fears, the red appears. The red appears, the red. Here with no sin, cause of a storm. My house of glass, it's hard to be home. It's hard to be home when I'm all alone. It's hard to be home, it's hard to be home. Mostly do talk, I cover my ears, closing my eyes, the writing appears, exposing my fears, exposing my fears, exposing my...
Tipping and slurring, I'm off of the rocks. Drifting and see, come and see what I brought. Need a prescription, I talk to a doc. Abusing my body till I cannot talk. Stricken my soul, I've stricken my soul. Distance myself from the people I know. Rotting inside, it's hard to behold. I'm falling apart, I'm deep in the hole. Filling my grave, I'm standing on dirt. Thinking about all the women I hurt. Dealing with shakes, hate what I'm worth. Spilling my drink all over my shirt. Facing regrets and hope that it works.